PlayStation core on MiSTer is a phenomenal, no, not just phenomenal, it's a ludicrous achievement. Once thought to be impossible, or at the very least unlikely, it surpassed all expectations, delivering a PlayStation experience unparalleled next to original hardware. And this is all thanks to the tireless work of legendary core creator Robert Peip, aka FPGA. Not one to rest on his laurels, after the core release last summer, June I think, Robert continued working on the core, first fixing GPU, CPU and memory accuracy, as well as squashing various bugs almost as soon as they were reported. Now the dust has settled, we've seen more quality of life improvements, the nice to haves or the I didn't know that was even possibles. So let's take a look at some of these improvements, a little bit about how they work and what that looks like in practice. Let's go. I'm going to take a look at these in a somewhat chronological order in which they were published. So first up, here's a double team of GPU improvements. As last October, Robert introduced two significant yet optional upgrades to the GPU implementation on the core. Firstly, 24-bit colour, which improves the colour rendition of the image that you see on screen. Now the PlayStation's always been capable of 24-bit colour internally, but just didn't have the memory bandwidth or actual memory available in VRAM to make it possible on screen. So instead of the dithered colours that we're used to with the PlayStation, we now have solid colour reproduction on every game. Quite an improvement, especially on modern displays. If we look at Ridge Racer Type 4 for example, which has a full screen dithered output, the improvement here is clear to see with your eyes. At the same time as this, bilinear filtering was introduced for the textures. Similar to how the PS2 and software emulators sort of smooth them out, this is another nice to have feature and really helps the older PS1 titles shine without destroying the essence of the unique PlayStation 1 aesthetic. Again, shown here on Ridge Racer Type 4, you can see it with varying levels of smoothness. I just go for 50% because I'm in the middle of stuff. It works really well here, and that combined with 24-bit colour is no brainer really, isn't it? These two optional enhancements have been superbly implemented, and if you want a more technical discussion, it's all available there on Robert's Patreon, so go check it out. Interlace rendering is another one, or deinterlacing the interlace rendering. Like most game consoles, the PlayStation supported a number of video resolutions. Many games, at least internally on PlayStation hardware, ran in a progressive mode, like 240p for example. But some games required high resolution and high frame rates, so interlaced rendering was really the only option there. I won't go into too much detail here, but the key takeaway is that interlaced content displayed on a progressively scanned screen reveals what are known as combing artifacts, where the two interlace fields are displayed simultaneously. Sort of see it, like lines. It can be clearly seen here on Tekken 3 for example. Well, by utilising the MiSTer's direct frame buffer, part of its HDMI scaler, apparently, Robert has managed to wrangle a stable 480p image out of the PlayStation. Does it work in all situations? No. But it's certainly worth a try, and a must-use option in my opinion with games like Tekken 3 on a modern display. As Robert points out in his excellent write-up on the feature, it isn't the perfect solution. Certain effects and 2D objects will still display interlacing artifacts, but for many games it does an excellent job of creating a fast, progressive scanned image with moving polygons. So good in fact, it's the default option now, so you don't even have to do anything. You just play PlayStation on MiSTer. That's the key takeaway here. So double CPU speed on PlayStation. So yeah, interesting one this. PlayStation, as some of you already know, runs at about 33 megahertz. Robert's produced like a separate branch of the core, which runs the CPU at double speed, 66 megahertz or thereabouts. As far as I can tell, he did this more to satisfy his own curiosity of whether it would be possible and exercise his brain to solve that problem. How did he do it? Well, apparently by decoupling the CPU from the rest of the architecture, which still needs to run at 33 megahertz to maintain timing and other things. So CPU calculations run twice as fast, everything else runs like normal, and then it's inserted back into the whole system after it's completed the calculations twice as quick. That's basically it. It differs from the fully integrated turbo mode. Rather than just adding some memory upgrades and slight speed improvements, it is effectively like adding a new CPU to the PlayStation at double the speed. With Driver 2 here, a great game by all accounts, we can see the PAL version struggling to hit 25 frames per second, often dipping as low as 17 or 18 in a couple of spots. But by using the 2x CPU core, we can hit a pretty steady frame rate, and with the turbo options as well, it's a solid experience. It's a hacky hack, so it can't really be integrated into the main core, but is a fun little distraction to play around with if you like a little tinker, and who doesn't like a little tinker from time to time. Again, there's a lot more info on Robert's Patreon, so go there now and check it out. So a few weeks ago, at the start of February, Robert announced he was working on a new core. Speculation is rife about what this might be. I personally hope it's the 3DO, but whatever. I digress. Anyway, well, I thought maybe that's it for the PlayStation core. He's done. Nothing more to add here. But a few days ago, he released another update. This time, adding virtual memory card support to PlayStation core users using SNAC. This puppy. So the long and short of it is, up till now, if you were using SNAC, virtual memory cards were possible, but you had to make certain allowances. The most common approach was to use a virtual memory card in slot 2 instead of slot 1, which this would be attached to. You could also mess around switching between VM and actual memory cards. I personally, I was using a multi-tap with a memory card. Remember this guy from my other video? Wild things. Yeah. It's fine, but you still run up to the limitations of physical memory cards, whatever they are. But now you can use virtual memory cards with SNAC with no issue. It works basically the same as I suggested in that video back there. It sort of detects when a memory card's being accessed and switches over to the VM before moving back to the gamepad once that was done. I'm not taking credit for that. It's smug, but I'm not taking credit for it. No, that was the work of Blue One, who worked with Robert Peip to make this possible. So thanks everyone involved making that work. It does work flawlessly. It's a robust solution and the default now if you're using SNAC. So good stuff. Well done. As an example, I tried it out with Tony Hawk 2 quickly for this video, and yeah, it works great. You can even load up off a physical memory card and then save to a virtual one, effectively making a backup, which is pretty cool. You could do it anyway, but it just makes the whole situation a little bit easier. Very cool. So yeah, that's just some of the updates that we've had to PlayStation Core since it released in the past few months. I'm pretty happy. You could have just left it on that original core release. Everyone would be like, yeah, it's pretty much there. But no, dedicated. That's what FPGA is. Dedicated. Applaud that. So yeah, going forward, he's working on a new core. So any future updates will probably be from the wider community. But either way, it's brilliant, isn't it? PlayStation core. I love it. It's a superbly crafted core at the end of the day. And quite possibly the best way to play PlayStation. At least I think so. Subscribe. I'm done.